The internet is blowing up over what Elon Musk just revealed to the world. So not just Neuralink to control us, but this to replace us. Some are concerned that these robots will replace jobs. Others have said the military is going to produce millions of robots that are far more advanced than this, which they already have. Whatever they release to the public, they have something that's at least a decade ahead. And someone else said, what's the there were good intentions lifespan of something like this before it turns around and kills its owner?
And what can it do? It'll basically do anything you want. So it can be a teacher, babysit your kids, it can walk your dog, mow your lawn, get the groceries, just be your friend, serve drinks, whatever you can think of, it will do.
My guests reveal the truth about this terrifying technology and how it's tied directly to the mark of the beast and the Antichrist. Watch.
In 2016, I got Klaus Schwab on tape admitting in a European interview, he said, just as we've gotten used to being having everything microchipped, including all of our products and clothes and things of that nature, he says, and he points to the head, he says, and we will be microchipped. Then the very next year at the World Economic Forum, he is interviewing Sergey Brin. Sergey Brin is one of the two co-founders, the other one, Larry Page, who founded Google. Google, on tape, admitted the reason why they started their company had nothing to do with another search engine. If you remember back in the early internet days, we had plenty of search engines. They admit on tape that they are here to create a global artificial intelligence. Now, and which is another thing. So they're working with Schwab because the reality is this. I mean, go back to a mark of the beast scenario. You're going to control, as Revelation 13 says, all buying and selling on the planet. Man, you can't hire enough people to run the back end of that system. So you're going to need something superhuman. Well, that's AI. AI is, for the first time, allows for Revelation 13 to come to pass. That's a whole nother topic. But Klaus is interviewing Sergey Brin, and this is 2017. So a year after he makes this European interview, we're all going to get chips, and he points to his head. This is very blunt. I got this on tape. So he goes to Sergey Brin. They're talking in front of this audience. They're both sitting in chairs. And he goes, well, he's basically looking forward to the day. And he again points to the head and he goes, when we will all get microchips in our foreheads. And then he sweeps the crowd and says, and we'll all have them. And he says, and it'll be great. For instance, we will be able to know instantly, with everybody getting these brain chips, instantly how even the audience is responding even now to our conversation. And this is on tape in 2017. So this is a long-term plan. Now,
reading our thoughts, basically.
Exactly, because there's two systems, Jenny, that they want to bring to the planet. It's called, and I'll give you the buzzwords. And if your viewers want to go do some homework and freak themselves out, search these two terms out. The first one's called IoT, Internet of Things. The second one that a lot of people don't realize is the other side of that coin. It's called IOB, as in boy, Internet of Bodies. And this is what Klaus and the gang want to bring to the whole planet. This is part of the Antichrist kingdom they're building. It isn't just an external monitoring of all things. That's your IoT. IoT is the Internet of Things, where they take microchips and they microchip everything externally. And it isn't just products and what we buy and sell, Revelation 13. It's everything. It's buildings, it's streetlights, it's cars, it's people, it's pets, it's everything. And they want to create this seamless matrix where everything externally will be monitored for your own good, especially if they shove you in one of their 15-minute cities. But that's only half of it. The other one, go back to the brain chip. They want to create not just external, constant 24 hours a day, 7 days a week surveillance on the outside of you. They want it on the inside of you. That's the Internet of Bodies. That's why they want people to get a microchip, whether it be a microchip that's in your hand that gives them access to your body, whether it be swallowing a microchip, and they've already been producing pharmaceuticals with microchips in it. So they've thought this stuff out. So they want to get a microchip on the inside of you, including possibly a brain chip, because that will give them two things. One is they will be able to monitor your body in real time. And listen to how they pitch this. They said, well, Janie, wouldn't it be great if we had this internal Internet of Bodies, constant monitoring, just like we could do on the outside for your good, but now we got it on the inside. And so wouldn't it be great if the microchip inside your body now can tell that in about 30 minutes, you're going to have a heart attack. And then we'll get the alert. We'll send an alert to you to your phone. And then you'll be able to rush to the hospital before it even happens. I mean, isn't that great? Isn't that what we wonder? Hey, Janie, wouldn't it be great if we could get a microchip on the inside of you, and then before a pandemic busts out, we'll be able to stop it because we can tell who's starting to go down this route, and we'll shut them down or lock them down, or all that. And wouldn't that be great? And so that's bad enough. But the other thing that they are looking for is combining that with what's called nanotechnology. And with the nanotechnology, they can use this internal monitoring of our bodies and begin to genetically modify us for our good on the fly. So beyond just the monitoring inside of you with the microchip, and they could tell if you're going to have a heart attack, or they could do all this other possible things to you. Back to the brain chip, there's another side that's freaky enough as it is. But the brain chip, as Klaus admitted on tape, that it will give them the ability to literally, I'm not joking, read your thoughts. That technology is not coming, it's already here. Now, it gets worse than that. Then they freely admit they won't be able to just read your thoughts, determine if you're a dangerous person. Or, and this is actually a new term that's come out. It's called predictive policing. It's like the movie years ago with Tom Cruise, Minority Report. And they had a pre-crime department where they could predict before somebody did a crime, and they would go and arrest them, but they haven't done a crime. Well, that's what they want to bring to the planet with the head chips. And they will, quote, be able to predict, well, you were just about getting ready to do something, so we came and arrested you, right? But that's bad enough. But then they admit that we could insert thoughts, we could delete thoughts, right? And then I kid you not, I got one of the scientists on tape talking about the benefits of this, getting access to people's thoughts, and they want to also commercialize it and sell this. She's like, I'll never get a brain chip. This is nuts. Who would ever do this? Well, here's what they say: with the brain chip, and now with technology, we can again insert thoughts, including, watch this, and this is on tape, dreams. And so he envisioned very shortly what they're going to be able to do is to be able to offer a subscription-based brain chip service, to where before you go to bed, if you have their service, then you could scroll like you're scrolling at Netflix, and not just what do I want to watch, it's what do I want to dream about tonight. And it'll become a whole industry where Hollywood and others, filmmakers, whatever, they will basically create not movies, but they'll create dreams for you. And then before you go to bed, if you got a subscription or you pay $3.99 or whatever they're going to charge, then that will be what you dream. But I mean, wouldn't that be great? No more nightmares, and you could pick whatever you want when you're dreaming. But see, that's how they pitch it. Now, the other downside is, wait a second, you give somebody access to your thoughts, they already said they can insert thoughts that weren't there before. So how do you know what you're thinking is really even true, or is even really coming from you?
Wow.
Number two, they can delete thoughts. Now, believe it or not, they admit that one. And here's how they pitch that. Well, wouldn't it be great for like the soldiers coming back from war? We all know they suffer from PTSD. What about the people who not go to war? We all know there's another pandemic of depression out there. And if you give us access to your thoughts with these brain chips, then we could delete those depressing thoughts. We could delete those memories that are causing PTSD. And so that's literally how they're pitching it to people. But what they're also not telling you is, wait a second. So if you can, what does our brain do? Our brain basically is the computer, the thinking system that controls the rest of our body. So this is the other aspect that they're working on. I'm not joking. Remote control humans. And this is something that they've been working on for years, including our own military, called DARPA. If you're not familiar with DARPA, DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. Basically makes it the high-tech military candy for the U.S. military, but ours military is not the only one. But they have admitted on tape, I even got this from the Science Channel, secular entities, they admit that they've been working on remote control soldiers for years.
And is that the superhuman soldiers that they're talking about that NASA predicted by 2025? I mean, is that
dare I say, Janie, sorry to interrupt you, but dare I say, they ain't coming in 2025. They're already here. Based on the research we did a documentary probably about 3 years ago now called Human Hybrid Super Soldiers in the Coming Genetic Apocalypse. And we found even way back then, for years, this is already going on. And it isn't just American. It is Chinese, Russia, European, South Korea, and dare I say that the Chinese one and then the Koreans definitely are way ahead. In fact, you could go on YouTube and do Koreans leader, and they're having a show of their super soldiers. They're not hiding it, and these guys are getting whacked on by poles and smashed and whatever, and they just don't blink an eye. They're just there's something very abnormal going on there with
Yeah.
these guys. So it's not coming; it's already here. But my point is, it's bad enough that you would do that for a soldier, but Janie, they want to bring this to everybody because once they get access to your brain, that's access to your body and how you operate, and they will be able to control you. In fact, I've got on tape from a whistleblower from the CIA, from our own government, and they've been doing brain experiments, brain machine interface (BMI) is what it's called, and they had an example, and this is sick and it's sad. Uh, he gave an example of a 16-year-old girl that they were interfacing into her brain, and he says just basically with a click of a button, they could have her playing guitar. They could have her in a complete state of frenzy, control body movements, all that. And first of all, I was like, what are you doing that to a kid, number one, and a teenager girl? It's like, well, this is sick. But this is nothing new. This is why Jesus said, because this is all going to culminate in the 7-year tribulation, the Antichrist kingdom. This is why you put all this stuff together, Janie. This is why Jesus said this is going to be the worst time in the history of mankind, right? You don't want to be there. Now, praise God, there's a way out. The same one who warned us about that loved us enough to tell us this, and his name is Jesus Christ. He's the way out of this mess. He's the only way out of this mess. And then that's why we need to ask him to forgive us of our sins and to be saved before it's too late. But this is what Klaus is doing. This is what the global elites working for him doing. Speaking of global elites, back to the brain chip. Who just got FDA approval to put those into humans? Elon Musk.
Oh,
Neuralink.
the Neuralink, yes.
Right. Do you think that's by chance? FDA approval. So again, it's not coming, Janie. It's already being done. And the way that he pitches it, and he's not the only brain chip company, because they want to mass produce. Oh, by the way, his company, Neuralink, his goal, he stated, was it's going to be simple and quick, just like a LASIK eye procedure. They go in with the laser and you go out. It's an outpatient procedure. That's what he's talking about with Neuralink. It's an outpatient procedure. It's not you're going to be in the hospital and it's going to take a week. That'd take too long, right? It's going to get, you're going to go in, get your brain chip, walk right back out, and you're connected to the system. Now, also speaking of Elon Musk, that's already happening. People are, in fact, I got an article I just shared a couple weeks ago. Thousands of people have already signed up for this brain chip. It's the latest thing. And they pitch it with, hey, for those people who are paraplegics or quadriplegics, you'll be able to get your limbs and mobility back. Hey, again, for those of you who can't speak, you can get your voice back, or possibly see, you get your sight back. And again, talk about a seduction. Anybody dealing with those physical limitations, man, you can see how they say, hey, yeah, sign me up, pop the chip in me. And that's what's sad. But again, at the same time, this guy is developing these brain chips, working with Klaus and the gang, by the way. He is no friend of humanity, Elon Musk. Been duped. I've been saying this for the last couple of years.
I agree.
And he's no friend of truth and all that stuff. You think, oh, he bought Twitter, turned to X for freedom. No, they still ban people all the time. Are you kidding me? So, but the other thing is he's building Neuralink, and it's to put brain chips into people to get access to them. But at the same time, he's also developing for the first time in man's history, Starlink. Now, what's Starlink? Starlink is his satellite system with his own space company, SpaceX, and they are launching. They're doing, and in fact, I had the privilege a couple of years ago. I was in Florida. I just happened to be there right when the SpaceX was doing a launch. I actually got to see it with my own eyes. And they are launching as fast as they can, and they can because he has his own rocket company. And so he is launching as fast as he can satellites, many satellites all over the globe, completely blanketing literally the Earth, Janie, called Starlink. And the goal is very shortly, they will be able to link the whole planet for the first time, even if you're in the Himalayan mountains or downtown New York City. The whole system, the whole planet will be enveloped in a matrix, an internet matrix. And you go like, well, what's the big deal with that? Well, again, go back to the goal. IoT, Internet of Things, IOB, Internet of Bodies. It's all microchip controlled and it's all monitored. You need AI to handle it. Well, they already got that, but you need a global matrix system that ties it all together, that ties all the microchips together so that the AI can monitor it anywhere and around the world. That can monitor all the microchips of the buying and selling and the people and their locations and dare I say their thoughts and all that stuff. You have to have a universal system, what I call the matrix, to plug it all into that AI can access and then control. But that's what he's building. And go figure, the brain chip is called Neuralink, link the human brain to computers, and then he creates Starlink, and then your brain and body, inside, outside, will be linked to a global system.
Now, when is that supposed to be completed?
Well, he's already got a big chunk of the planet already done. Just go to Starlink. They both, hey, we got another 40 satellites up. Oh, this batch we got another 80 satellites. So and it's not coming. It's already started. Many people are already jumping on for the service of Starlink. And again, that's how they pitch it. Well, those of you that live out in the middle of nowhere, you're always suffering from not really having a very good internet connection. Well, not now. Thanks to Elon Musk. He's blanketing the planet with Starlink. So again, you can see it all coming together. And again, I tell people, this is the only book that tells you exactly how it's going to play out, the Bible. God predicted this. He's been telling us for 2,000 years. This is what the last days are going to look like. Why? Because he doesn't want us to go there into that. And you could escape it through his son, Jesus Christ, if you just ask. And so, but my point is, but people aren't in the Bible. Or dare I say, you go to an average church today, they don't even talk about prophecy. Are you kidding me? They don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. And so people are left in the dark about what's going on.
They're using deception, and it has gotten much easier, actually, with the onset of technology to deceive, which is what I think what Paul meant when he said in 2 Timothy 3:13, evil men and impostors will grow worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. It's easier to be deceived today than it ever was, and it's also easier to deceive. And that's a pretty potent combination. And to paraphrase Mark Twain, he said it's easier to deceive people than to convince them they've been deceived. And so once you've been captured in your mind by this deception, there's almost no going back short of the Spirit of God really breaking through and people realizing they've believed a lie. But, you said it's hard to distinguish between truth and reality. That is exactly Satan's goal. He wants to get to the point where people cannot distinguish him from God, that he looks like God, he acts like God, he can perform miracles like God. Now, he'll never be obviously able to be God, and he'll never be able to create the world and the universe ex nihilo, as they say in Latin, out of nothing. He'll never be able to do that because he himself is a created being. But he's certainly going to try hard, and that's what the transhumanist agenda is all about. And even in our day, with technology, it's gotten to be where using AI, you can replicate a person in terms of their appearance and their voice, and even their cadence, their terminology. AI is a very powerful tool, so that if you then turn that into an embodiment, or what they call embodied AI, which is just a robot, but it's a robot with skin on so that it looks like us. So instead of that mechanical robot with metal legs and marching around loading boxes onto a forklift, you've now got a robot that looks like you or looks like me. And then if you program it using AI with my voice and with my cadence and all that, you might not be able to know who's real and who's not. And that's a very scary place to be when you can't identify reality.
Well, speaking of AI, you had some really eye-opening things in your book regarding that. AI could go rogue. Explain that.
Yeah, I mean, even the smart people, the ones that are scientific and technologically brilliant, they may not know the Lord. I don't know where they stand in their worldview and their Christianity, but they're now coming out, and have been for the last year, sounding the alarm about it, that we seem to have crossed the Rubicon. And they're holding congressional hearings about it. They've had certain inquiries. There's even the top experts are saying, you know what, the cat is out of the bag, and we don't know if we will ever be able to get it back in. And so this should concern us. Now, you overlay that to the biblical record, and what do you see? Well, in that future 7-year period after the rapture and prior to the triumphant return of Christ to inaugurate the kingdom, we're going to see things like the image of the beast and people worshiping, quote, the image of the beast. Well, of course, that goes all the way back to the ancient Near East when they would set up statues of themselves, the kings and rulers like Nebuchadnezzar, for example, and get people to worship it. But with AI, and particularly with embodied AI, now you can actually have 1 million, 2 million Antichrist figures, and you may never know who the real one is. And not only are they there to invoke fear, but as a technological being, they can, using their eyes, they can record, using their ears, they can hear, so they can pipe all of that back into a central server or database, so that now the Antichrist really is omniscient and omnipotent and omnipresent, right, through embodied AI. So these are the kinds of things that really indicate to me, Janie, that we're getting closer than ever.
Well, when I think of like what happened in 2020, which, we're not going to go into all the details, obviously everyone knows, but it just really was hitting me how, okay, people wearing masks, and all of a sudden you're losing like relationships with people because it's like, just like covering up faces, and then people having to be locked down and staying away from people. And then all of a sudden you've got technology, and the technology now is replacing relationships. Like, it's just eye-opening one you were talking about in your book about the elderly having AI companionship. Can you explain some of that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and yeah, what you were talking about from 2020 was a massive psyop. And that's a classic example of using psychological manipulation to get people to behave in a certain way. So they didn't put a gun to our head. They didn't, insert technology in our brain. They just used fear, and they got people to, put on masks. And so, yeah, I mean, the deployment of AI today is part of it is practical. And by the way, I might insert, AI in and of itself, like all technology, is morally neutral. It can be used and is being used to solve, centuries-old medical dilemmas, to read X-rays, for example, and find things that the human eye can't see, to solve diseases and cure diseases. So we're thankful that, we have computer power, but obviously in the wrong hands, this becomes a problem, which is what we've been talking about. And then you just brought up some applications of it that really should give us real concern, such as replacing human interaction. God made us in his image, the imago Dei, we call it in theological circles, and Genesis 1:26 and 27. What does that mean? Well, part of that is we are relational beings, and we are intended to interact with others. We're never intended to be isolated. Obviously God, Proverbs says a man who isolates himself is raging against sound wisdom. And so, but Satan, who hates humanity because he hates God and we are made in God's image, he's doing everything he can to isolate us, to keep us apart. And so, yeah, in certain nursing homes, I think it was in New York, they were using AI. Now, it wasn't embodied AI, because that would be, they at that time didn't quite have it, although they're already there now. But it was just little AI robots, almost like a robot dog, or think of a robot vacuum or something, but just a mechanical looking robot, but that would sit down and have, coffee and conversation with these elderly in nursing homes because their family is too busy to come visit. And, I'm not trying to make people feel guilty who have people in nursing homes. It's a reality of the world in which we live. But my point is there's a vacuum there, and AI and has kind of swooped in to fill that vacuum. And that's just one example. We're seeing it in the marketplace, and in the employment. Anything that can be done with AI and technology from a business perspective they prefer that over human beings. Why? Because you don't have benefits, you don't have workplace injuries, you don't have employees suing the company, you don't have people taking vacation, you can work them more than 40 hours a week, you can work a robot 365 24/7. So it's from a business standpoint, we're losing jobs by the millions, and there are many projections that I get to in the book about that. But by the year 2030, I mean, we could all be out of a job, and that's the transhumanist or satanic idea or ideal, or the ultimate goal is for the elite to all be sitting around by their pools, sipping lemonade while technology does all of the work.
Right, and that we would just basically sit home and then own nothing and be happy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, of course, in their utopian world, I should say dystopian world from a biblical perspective, there's an elite group of Satanists who are at the top of the tier, and everybody else are just the plebes who run around serving them and feeding them and making their cleaning their house and that kind of thing. So it's not as benevolent as it seems. They paint this picture like using technology, it's going to be such a great world. People won't have to work anymore, and you're going to transcend humanity and so forth. But they have a really different plan in place in the dark smoke-filled rooms as they're laying this out.
Right, and that we would become as gods. But I want to just mention a few things, because when back to the rogue, I found this interesting in your book, and it said recently U.S. Air Force conducted a simulation in which AI embodied drone tasked with destroying surface-to-air missile sites, but instead attacked the very officer who was controlling it. I mean, I'm like, okay, that's really scary. So it does make sense when you were talking about congressional. It was the first having those kinds of congressional briefings on AI, and also being the fear of AI being able to hit the nuclear button. I've always heard that whatever technology we know about they're way more advanced than what we even know.
What we're seeing today is the fourth industrial revolution coming about. The plan of the World Economic Forum to bring about transhumanism. And AI will play the role in regards to knowing everything about what we're doing is communism repackaged. So there's a big push for artificial intelligence in the days ahead.
Okay, but now how does that, that was the meeting where they said they had 3,000 experts, and then those at least 10 robots joined them, which they look very eerie, which of course we're going to show you.
It's the Addams family. You're going to bring the Addams family into your house.
Yeah, they're pretty scary. They're definitely scary looking, like the Addams.
Definitely scary.
Yeah, I mean, they blink and they make faces, and definitely very scary.
We live in a world which good is evil and evil is good. They've got it all backwards. And today we have AI in almost every single home. So we have it on our television and our TV, on our computer. It's already being pushed on us from every single angle. The sessions are going to continue pushing the agenda through the end of this year. The 17 goals are on all their screens for this agenda. In fact, I'm going to get into the shape of it. So the A is an uncapped stone, and in the center we have an arrow pointing up. So that center, that top piece isn't in place yet, but that's where they're pushing towards is the put the capstone on this pyramid. And we see that wherever we've seen that before is go to your back of your dollar bill and you have Novus Ordo Seclorum, New World Order on the back of your dollar bill, and it's been there from 1935.
So you're saying that on the 17 goals that they're having that pyramid for AI for good? Yes.
And there's in the center you have an arrow or you have a cap that's not yet placed and it's pointing up. And if once that's placed, you're as God is what they're doing. Yuval Noah Harari, I have to get his name right. I always want to call him Noah. And his subject is sapienship. So he wanted to do away with Homo sapiens. He wants you to become a sapien. And that means he's controlling you and he's in charge. These people want to take you and turn you into something else other than Homo sapiens. And Noah Harari wants to be your guardian. And we got to look at for this to be understood, we got to look at the definition of sapienship, and it means equals recent humans. So it's not what we were in the past, it's what we are now.
Will we spend most of our time in virtual worlds in the coming decades? And will humans one day live forever? Sapienship Lab is an educational website from Sapienship, the social impact company I co-founded with my husband Itzik Yav.
So it's really sickening.
It is, but you know what? It answers the question when, when people get the mark. I just, always wondered, and I know I've brought this up before, but years ago when I first started reading about Bible prophecy, I just always wondered that why, when they got the mark, it was irreversible. But the thing is, it's because now they're totally controlled and they can't think anymore. So
yes, they operate. They're doing this on mice already, where they control you remotely. So the mice will do whatever the remote it tells them to do. So we're getting to it. We saw that in the movies. Well, some people did in the Left Behind series, how they're being it was mind control, and we're seeing that today, 100%. I thought what we saw in the Left Behind series would never happen, and now we're here today with the metaverse and the mind control. We see with the Neuralink, same thing. We've got the mind control definitely in play in the days ahead. Well, I'm gonna keep going with DuVall Harari. So he wants to end Homo sapiens. He states the era of free will is over.
I mean, what's left for us as humans if we have to give up the idea of the self, of the free will?
To explore the reality. I mean, my main problem with the idea of free will and the self, it makes us extremely incurious about ourselves. If my decisions just reflect my free will, whatever that is, then there is nothing to explore.
He also states we are really acquiring divine powers of creation and destruction. We are really upgrading humans into gods. We are acquiring, for instance, the power to engineer life. Humans are now hackable.
I think the most important thing to know about living in the 21st century is that humans are now hackable animals.
So we have the uncapped stone, and in the center, an arrow pointing up. And this is nothing new. If we look back in our history, this all started at creation. And but next to the A, we have an I. It's a column, resembles a column, and it goes back to in Solomon's day when he would set up the columns. In fact, he set it up on both sides of the Red Sea. He set up a column on both sides of the Red Sea.
Ah, interesting. It's all connected to Freemasonry too.
Yes, very much connected to Freemasonry. So we have just the interesting connection there with their abbreviation. And then we have also, I'll give you a website for this, the AI for the X Prize. So they're going to reward you for following these artificial intelligent goals. And we will give you perks for carbon neutrality. So the more perks you get, the higher up the ladder you go and the higher you stand on the pyramid. So in reality, this is a game that you're selling your soul to. And in fact, probably what's really important is how the 17 goals are placed as a pyramid. And the number one goal, then at the very top is the partnership. So the higher you go up, the more partnerships you do, the higher up the ladder you go till you're on top. Number 8 is AI to improve productivity through intelligent automation. So this has to do with our creepy robots that you can put a picture up for of the Addams family. And you are basically out of a job, and we're kind of seeing this into play in another fashion. When we go to the grocery store, and a lot of stores today, you don't get served in person; you have to serve yourself. So they're driving innovation towards so that you work for the grocery store basically because you have to check yourself out.
Right, and also I know that there's been a lot of restaurants that now have, instead of waitresses and waiters, they have robots that come to your table.
Yeah, they have robots. That's very impersonable. I wouldn't be back. So number 10 is AI to build a more inclusive society. And this has to do with the disability robots. So you're going to bring robots into the home. Robot tells you what to do, when you need to do it, and basically keeps you in the same state for forever and ever. You're never going to improve and never going to explore. So
so that robot is not like the Jetsons with Rosie, who was a sweet robot. That's not what we're talking about.
No, with controlling robots, and it can be done with AI too, with your even with your phone. We're already seeing that today.
Wait, Craig, why don't you talk about AI and with the evil twin? You said you had more information regarding that.
Yes, that had to do with on VentureBeat. You can look up the article, and it says get ready for your evil twin, and this has to do with avatars. Once again, it says AI technology has become so effective today, we can no longer tell the difference between real people and virtual people, or people, as this guy calls them. So there's actually a website online that has King Charles on the website, but the whole thing is AI. And it has him holding a glass of lemonade, has him dancing with the people, but all the images are AI. It's all artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Somebody I know did an experiment where AI, has their voice, knows their voice because they, gave that input, and then you could hear. It sounds like they're just giving like a whole sermon, but it wasn't them. It was AI. So now you could really have all of those deep fakes with people visually, or you'll think that you're hearing what that they said something. I mean, talk about the Bible saying that in the last days, there'll be deception, and so what is real and what is fake? I mean, I know one thing that's totally real, and what's real is our God, is Jesus. He's real, and there's really nothing to fear. I mean, this is a scary stuff, but in Jesus, when he says he'll never leave you or forsake you, when you give your heart to him, I mean, you're living in his presence. And he'll tell you, okay, go here, go there, don't go there. I mean, you can hear his voice, and you can have his shalom, because he said he would give you peace that passes all understanding. Craig, anything else that you wanted to add?
It goes on to say, if this technology is not regulated, we know that it won't be regulated. These AI agents or avatars will even track our emotions in real time, monitoring our facial expressions and vocal inflections so they can adapt their conversational strategy to maximize their persuasive impact. I thought that was pretty interesting. They'll monitor your facial expressions and react it in a certain way,
Yeah.
or how fast you reply to your Siri or Alexa, and you'll wonder why you're waiting so long. So we're almost there. The Google co-founder wants to build AI as a digital god, according to Elon Musk. The Google co-founder's name is Larry Page, and this would imply that AI would understand everything in the world. So this was unheard of just years ago. But we've been trying to be like God since Genesis chapter 3, and we humans create gods in our own image. So that's what basically they're breaking the commandment.
Now you had also sent me other headlines regarding that as AI as God.
I did. We have through AI, humans might literally create God. That was one headline. But which way will humanity steer it? We know based on history, it's going to be steered in the wrong direction. And the article in its description says the future of AI terrifies us in the same way that God once terrified us. So they believe God is gone. He's left the planet, and we have to bring in this new God.
Yeah, and now as far as with AI, because I was just like trying to like understand it even better, but it's saying that it keeps learning and learning and learning. And I saw a headline that was basically saying AI is now out of control, and that it's actually becoming dangerous. Have you seen that too?
I've seen that too, or at least potentially dangerous. That potential is, I mean, it's just right. It's right there. And then there's another article in Futurism. It says the machine learning investor warns AI is becoming like a god. So they are running towards a finish line without understanding of what lies on the other side. So there's an article, the radical movement to worship AI as a new god, and then with algorithms starting to govern more and more aspects in our lives, it's just a matter of time until someone starts to deify these algorithms as God. And at the very end, it says, ironically, by combining bleeding edge technology and with religion, we're doing something that humans have been doing for they say hundreds of thousands of years, asking questions, seeking answers, and finding God with the tools we have. The only difference is this time God is truly coming from the machine.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you said about asking questions, because it's I've been seeing that people are now asking AI for advice for their life.
So I can do that with my phone. I can ask Siri what to do.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well,
Alexa, what to do.
I would say to everyone, take the phone, put it down, and open your Bible and pray and ask God to really tell you, the real God, Jesus.